We just coming with a little early, so we give you guys a little bonus for showing up, man. So right now I'm off my KRS-One. This is something I used to listen to when I used to go to school in the 90s, dog. Like late 80s, early 90s. So it's like 87, 88, man. I used to walk the Penn in San Diego. Anybody know where that's at, man? I mean, Bo, we used to have my little ghetto blaster um, in a bag, man, with batteries, man. So if anybody knows the struggle with batteries, man, the struggle with batteries used to be really real, man. It wasn't no plug in and charge it up. It was going to buy it. Look at Radio Raheem and D batteries, and that'll tell you enough about the battery situation, right? Um, so man, yeah, man, let me share this with my with my peoples while we tap in. So one of the things I don't like to do is, and I've been seeing this with a lot of people, man, and I'm not hating or anything like that, but what I am saying is, if you're gonna go live, man, don't sit up there and talk about, well, um, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait for a few more people to get on here. I'm gonna wait for a few more people to do this. I'm gonna wait for a few, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, nah, man, you got to get cracking right away. And the reason is because people ain't got time to wait on such and such to tap into the live or to tap into whatever life in general, right? Because a lot of people ain't even tapped into life yet, man. Everybody just running around on some rat race stuff. So make sure you guys read Who Moved My Cheese, right? Because that's what's happening right now is everybody's cheese got moved. You know what I'm saying? So what are you doing? Where are you getting your cheese at now? Because where you used to get it from may not be producing the same quality, may not be producing the same amount, may not be producing at all. So what do? A lot of times what certain people are doing are they're moving their cheese on purpose. And if you read the book, Who Moved My Cheese, you'd understand that's kind of the whole concept is, be that person who moves your own cheese, who understands that things change, don't get too comfortable in a situation or a job or circumstance, i.e. the D game. Man, don't get comfortable in that at all. I don't care how good the money look. I don't care how tight your ends are. Don't do it. And I'm one who, man, anybody who know me already know, man, I was school, man, we going to get the bag. And that's how I've always been my entire life. And I'm still like that. But right now I'm about the legal bag. And that's what I'm trying to tell you guys is you got to get the legal bag. And if you're not getting the legal bag, you can't sleep right, man. You can't, and that contributes to high blood pressure. That's why a lot of homies are dropping in their 40s, heart attacks and stuff, because they're not necessarily practicing. They think, oh, I'm healthy, I go play ball, whatever the case may be, but you may have this stress that stresses you out every Monday. Maybe a job that you hate or whatever the case may be, that's stressing you out every single Monday, right? And if that's the case, then you got a silent killer coming because it's just eating you up and you don't know how stress is affecting your overall body. So, man, leave that stuff alone. Get into something that's a little bit more solid. The checks coming in. You may have to sacrifice. I had to sacrifice. That's my wife, man. We sacrificed for a lot of years. Had to pay back my child support. Had to do all that stuff together. And now we finally got to a position of where we're comfortable. We're cool. We were just talking about we don't want no new cars. We don't want any. We just paid our cars off. I'm straight. Like I don't have a need for my satisfaction. She's the woman I want, so I'm good. And a lot of times those are the things that contribute to our wanting to go get things, or either other people or feel like we got to impress somebody, right? Feel like we got to be something that we're not, or at least for the moment, right? We got to look like we balling. That's why I don't like renting luxury cars. I don't want to look like I'm balling. Oh, I've been eating chips and stuff right now, so excuse me. But yeah, I don't want to look like I'm balling, and I'm really not. Because if I was really balling, it'd be different. I'll give you a prime example. So we were at Bevmo yesterday. My wife was getting some more. I like wine too. I think, did I get a bottle? I don't know. She was getting some Shiraz, and if anybody knows what that is, it's a pretty good South African wine. But anyways, and I've been trying to kill this gnat for a minute, man. This food just snuck up on me. I thought I had him. But anyways, there was two guys that pulled up. It was a guy in a brand new vet, black rims, like some 26s. It was clowning. He's on his phone, T-tops, wide open, talking. Da, 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 da. And he looks like he really, really got it. Like he really does. And then you see an older guy come out with a bottle of gin in his hand, and he had a little Apple Watch, nice little Hyundai or whatever. And I said, I bet you he has more than this guy, because he doesn't want anybody to know it. But this guy wants everyone to know. And a lot of times that's that's a recipe for disaster, which brings us to our point today. Recipes, dog. What's your recipe, homie? What is your DNA? Because a lot of times what it is we look at other people, we look at other people, accomplished people, or we look at other authors or whatever the case. And we talked about this a little bit last week about people going into that may just have good luck, or just may have been a time and a point in their lives where they just everything kind of lined up, right? But we set our recipe to mimic theirs, right? So we do it exactly. I'm gonna do exactly what he did. I'm gonna do. I didn't know his dad was Mr. Olympia and that he had certain DNA in him that made him naturally bigger than me. But I'm gonna do his exact workout because I think I'm gonna achieve those same exact results, right? I believe that I'm gonna actually look like him. Or if I go to school and go this route, if I go to Harvard, then I may be able to be the president. Well, that may be the case, right? But that was Obama's route, right? And everybody has their own routes. Everybody has their own way of doing things. Everybody has these serendipitous moments that may happen. That's how your life was written. The problem is that a lot of times we base our recipe on someone else's, and we don't modify the ingredients at all. We said we're going to do exactly what they did. What did you do to become so successful? We sit in the audience and act like some damn rats, right? Or the mice that had the cheese moved on them. What did you do to become successful? And we're writing down notes. And granted, I'm not saying don't take any advice, but I'm saying advice can be very subjective because it could have been a lucky moment in their lives. It could have been a lot of different things, just chance, right? Because a lot of times we don't talk about how much chance plays into our success, because guess what that does? That takes away from us. Because if we talk about how lucky we were, man, I was just lucky. These cars just dropped this way, man. I just happened not to be over there at that certain time where everybody got killed. I just happened to be. But everybody wants to attribute it to, I think I got them this time, attribute it to their success and not necessarily something that just happened. And that's the one thing that we need to start looking at. You know, when we're looking at success or looking at successful people, let's look at certain things, but not everything. You can't take everything with a grain of salt. But what's your recipe, right? Because my recipe may be a little bit different. And when I talk about recipe, that's your entire makeup. That's everything that's involved in not only who you are, but what you do on a daily basis. So, for example, I'll give you my morning recipe. Like my ideal time, and this is what I found successful for me, is my ideal time is between about 8 and 11 o'clock in the morning. That's about it, or maybe 12. After that, I start to wander. I start to do different things. I start to go different places imaginatively, work ethic, whatever the case may be. I'm not that same person I was, right? So that's my time. Now, you may be a person that says, okay, I like getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I like doing this, but that works for you, right? 8 to 10 works for me. Some people are midnight owls. Some people like the afternoon, like sleeping all day. One of the things that I've stopped doing is making assumptions or judging people based on some military criteria, right? Or something that someone's cooked up and says, this is what you need to be. This is who you need to be, or you're not successful. That's not something that I think should be universal. I think that people are, and just like lessons in school, whatever the case may be, I think people have their own success formulas, right? Their own recipes for success. And for us to standardize any of that, when we start to look at things, not only just our goals, but standardize and say, okay, our kids are being tested based on these particular standards that may not necessarily apply to them, right? Our kids may be more on the creative side, right? But they're held to standards based on STEM, right? That are based on engineering that some people are wired for. Some people that their dad was an engineer, so they have different exposure to that. So it's not necessarily something that you should be judged on, right? I wasn't an audible person. Like, I didn't like listening. I like learning on my own. None of the teachers realized that. So I got punished for being the type of learner I was and not understanding, and them not being creative or smart enough to realize, hey, these different students have different recipes. So I can't just feed them the same thing and think it's going to work with all of them. Yeah, Becky in the back, her dad was a math teacher. That's why she sits there like that and writes the notes and does all this stuff, because she's been exposed to it probably her entire life, right? And her dad still teaches, and she watches her dad teach. So she's going to excel in that type of format, where my dad didn't. He wasn't a teacher and wasn't. So why should I be held to those standards? And a lot of times we're disciplining our kids. We're talking to them about things based on a recipe that isn't designed for them to win. What's their recipe? And that's what we need to get to the bottom of, because once we figure out what our own recipes are, once we understand what ingredients work for us, what time, oh, got it, finally, ugh, gnats, goodness, we air conditioning owners know nothing in here, but they trying to get out that heat as well. But anyways, so we're sitting up there trying to figure out how to make them succeed in something that wasn't set up for them. So we need to get to the bottom of what are the ingredients that actually work for us? What are the ingredients that actually work for them, right? Because once we understand how we tick, what makes us work, what makes us get motivated, what gets us up in the morning, what makes us want to go work out. Once we understand all these different parts to the process, then we could design our day a lot better. We'll know what we should be doing first, right? When's our most productive time? Okay, let me put my heaviest thing on that. If I need to work on my business ideas, I'm gonna do it between 8 and 11, right? And that's because I can get my breakfast, I can still be working out, I can be doing a lot of different things. Mess around and put a treadmill in my room, right? Because I'm that motivated at that time. I want to do a lot of different stuff, right? So what's your time, right? Because everybody's differs, and you need to analyze that and not compare yourself to your manager whose dad was in the military. That's why he gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning, because he's been doing it since he was 3 years old, because his dad was a military sergeant and they made him get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So you're basing your success on something that has zero to do with you, nothing. So I remember my manager, you got to be here at 7, you got to be here. Man, that's not how I operate, dude. That's not how I tick, man. That's just not the optimal time for me, is when you think I should be here. So that's kind of where we differed. And a lot of times people kind of, they're like, I got to go to work, I got to be responding, whatever, that works for you. But I got a job and a business to where I'm allowed to do these types of things at that time, right? Where I don't have to get up at 7 o'clock and be there with my shoes polished. And that's military stuff. I'm not in the military. So that works for them. Even though I do I mad respect to the military, I think it's one of the best places for people for the discipline. So if you don't have a felony or anything like that, consider it. 1, you'll see the world. 2, you can get a VA loan. 3, you can get a VA loan. 4, you can get a VA loan. 5, you can get a VA loan. Like 0 down. That's how these cats get super wealthy, right? When you look at some of the things. So just wanted to throw that out there, put that out there. Shout out to the military for that. Don't sleep on that. But back to the recipe. When we think about chocolate chip cookies, oh man, I got this bomb ass recipe from this lady. She puts this in there. She does this. She does that. She does it. Give you an example. I can't think of who I was talking to or where I heard the actual story from, but it was about a pot roast, right? And these people said, oh, I got this recipe for this pot roast. It's amazing, and I got it from my grandmother. And you do this and that, and you prepare it and this and this and that. But the one thing she did was she cut off the ends of the pot roast, and it just made it so much better. So, I got a chance, to talk to my grandmother and finally ask her why, what was that strategy of cutting off the ends of the pot roast? And her answer was, I just cut off the ends because I didn't have a pan big enough to fit that pot roast. So my pan was small. So a lot of times we think that there's some magical science to a lot of people's recipes, and it's based on what our imagination puts forth or whatever the case may be. And we're totally wrong or misconstrued, right? We don't have the right information. But what I tell you, what does work is when we figure out what makes us tick. Not saying, because this is the thing, if we were supposed to be like everyone else, we wouldn't have these fingerprints. We wouldn't have these types of fingerprints. We wouldn't have this going on. We wouldn't have all these individual characteristics, because we'd be all duplicates. But now since we can see things, we can see people, we can reach out and touch people a lot easier now. We're seeing a lot of people that are copycats that are saying, oh, I can do the same thing, and people promoting it as if they're gurus. And one of the things that I'll say is if you're focusing more on someone else's recipe and you think you can duplicate it, what makes you going to be any different than someone else? And this is the thing that I'll say about college, right? This is what I always say to my students. I say, you know what? Everybody getting degrees here. Everybody's getting the same degree that you're getting. Everybody in this class is getting a business degree. Everybody across the way at USC, they're getting a business degree. And theirs is going to say, mine's are more expensive than yours. And the ones at UCLA, they're getting a business degree too. And they're going to say, mine's is really expensive. And I'm smarter than you. So what's going to make you different? You know, what's going to make you, what's going to put, or always, this is the one I always use. I say, how you going to put your dent in the universe? And I got that from Steve Jobs. How you going to put it in the universe? It can't be based on this degree here because there's everybody getting that. So what is it based on? It's based on the work that you do outside of this classroom. It's based on the relationships that you build in here. So what's your recipe? There it goes again, because that's what people call a mojo. You can call it whatever you want. I call it a recipe because it can change, right? You can omit certain things and add this. You didn't know that this can give you that same flavor. You didn't know this can give you that same sensation. So I can omit the brown sugar and I can put in honey. Oh, I didn't know that. And cut a couple calories. Now I'm playing around with my recipe, right? Because it should change. Oh, you don't taste the same. I shouldn't. I've advanced. I'm not the same cat anymore. I shouldn't taste the same. I shouldn't look the same. None of that stuff because I'm advancing. But what's your recipe? This is the thing that you have to understand and come up with yourself. And you need to figure it out. Do you stay in the oven long? Do you put it in? What do you do early? What do you do different? Everybody has a different one. And the thing about it is your recipe can be just as good as anyone else's. Anyone else's. Sometimes it takes time to perfect a recipe. Sometimes you stumble across a recipe. It can be some accidental shit, right? Where you didn't even know you were good at this until you figured it out, until you stumbled across it. And you figured out, man, I actually love running. Or I actually love doing this. I like truck driving. I didn't know I liked truck driving. It's on. Now I'm going to drive trucks, right? And then I didn't know I had a thing for logistics. Now I'm going to think about a warehouse. Because I got all these suppliers and all these relationships that I built be driving trucks. Now I could buy this warehouse here. I know that they need this in this area. I know I'm X amount of feet from here. Let me go take a logistics class and really solidify this shit, right? This is how we need to be thinking. How can I add to my recipe to make it even more expensive for you to buy a dozen, right? If I'm putting this bullshit in here, I'm putting these regular sugar. I'm not using advanced sugar. I'm not using that expensive sugar, that ones at Bristol Farms. You're going to tell the difference between my cookies and somebody who went and bought a bunch of whatever, right? Same thing holds true. You're going to tell people who are having quality time with their consciousness, with their brain, with education. You're going to tell, right? My recipe is a little bit different. So right now I'm working on an ingredient that has a lot to do with statistics. So I'm spending a lot of time with that right now, perfecting that, getting better, understanding it, right? So I'm adding more to mine. So now when you go, oh man, what do you taste like this year? Man, I got all that same stuff. And I even added pecans to the game. Or I added almonds to it, man. I added some toffee crunches to this joint. When you taste this now, you're going to see why I'm charging you $40 a cookie, right? And there's no weed in it. So this is what you need to be constantly doing, perfecting your recipe. One, figure out what ingredients you made of. First of all, what am I made of? What do I consist of, right? I got heart? Do I got perseverance? Do I got grit? Am I an adventurer? Am I somebody who's patient? What are my attributes? Because that's basically your ingredients, your attributes. What am I? What am I made of? Right? I know how to lead, right? I've led, I know how to ran. I ran dope houses, ran the whole thing. Young age. You know what I'm saying? Tell no lies, trust me. So when you start to understand and do a self-inventory of all your attributes, what am I made of? What do I consist of? What makes me tick? What makes me successful? What do other people see in me that they want? Right? Not physical all the time, because sometimes we can't help that. But what is that one thing that they actually want and need from me? Right? That they inspire. Okay, so it's inspiration. So I figured that a lot of homies come and talk to me and get inspired. Oh man, I love talking to you, dog. You always talking about some positive stuff. Okay, well let me milk that, because that's part of my recipe that connects me more with the homies. Well, let me tap into that. And you need to figure out what your recipe is. It could be fixing heaters. I mean, the homies all got pads now, or they got rentals. It could be fixing air conditioning. Could be whatever, but you need to figure out what makes you tick, what time of day is optimal for you, because the time of day and flow is so critical to your success right now. And a lot of people don't understand that. They just think, oh, man, when I get to work, man, they playing that mood. Yeah, you get in flow. You don't even realize that you even work it. That's a part of your recipe. Part of your recipe may be music. Miles Davis. You may want to go deep. Who knows? But you need to figure out what makes you tick. Is it your 90s music? What made you happy when you were a kid? You'll get into that flow of things. And then you won't even realize that you're working. And when you get to the point where you realize that you're not working, to that point, then you're really breaking down doors, because it's not work. You're not even tripping off the money, and the money will come in boatloads. It's like that girl that you don't pay attention to. She coming for you, right? Same thing holds true. So you guys got to think about that. What's in my recipe? What's my DNA? What are the attributes? What do people find attractive about me? And I don't know egotistical stuff, but what do people connect with about me? Because these are the ingredients that I want to keep in here. Now, if I included some coconut in my cookies, and most of the people weren't feeling that, then I need to take that out of there, right? If that turns people off, or if that rubs people the wrong way, or if that prevents me from getting to where I need to get to, I need to get that ingredient out of there. It doesn't need to be in the recipe. Or everybody's allergic to this, man. Bad attitude. Everybody's allergic to that. So bad attitude, leave that out the recipe. Get that out of there, ASAP Rocco, right? Get it out of here. We don't need that. But what we do need is positive attitude, positive conversation. My mom just got this book that's talking about positive talk and how important it is. You can refer to that. You can refer to the 4 agreements. Always speak the impeccable word. Watch your mouth. People talk about what ingredients they're made of. They're not positive ingredients. Man, I'm this. I'm stupid. Man, watch the conversation. Who you talking about? If ain't nobody else in the world talking about you like that, why you gonna start that? And that's kind of how the conversation we need to have. So we need to do a self-inventory. Man, I'm fat. I need to lose weight. No, not that kind of inventory. Kind of inventory that shows your attributes, your positive characteristics, right? What do people love about you? Do a self-inventory. A lot of times we don't do a self-inventory. We inventory in other people's shit. Oh man, such and such got this. He got a personality. He got, man, you can't get that. You can't do that. You don't have to be like him. I know this cat on the news irritates the living, you know what I mean? Because he's just one of them kind of cats. I got to be popular with everybody. I got over that, man. Once I hit 40, I think it was 41, 42, man, I'm over that. You don't like me, man, I'm not really changing at this stage of the game, homie. My stripes are my stripes. I will bend a little bit out of courtesy, but for the most part, like everybody else, we're not changing too much. So we need to work with the ingredients that we actually have, man. If you a soup cat and everything that you can, all your ingredients amount to soup, you better be some gumbo, dog. Period. If you got ingredients that amount to cake, be the best cake that you can be. Whatever ingredients, whatever hand you've been dealt. Like people always say, when you're playing cards, anybody play spades? Okay. Knock them down with all hearts. With a bunch of red in your hand. It's possible. Seen it done. No spades. Still pimping it. So it's possible. You got to pay attention, though. You got to pay attention to what's going on with you, not with anybody else. You can look at their ingredients and admire them and just go to the farmer's market and peep game and add things to your game. But at the same time, you need to check your inventory and make sure that you understand the value in what you already possess. God gave you everything that you already needed, all the tools that you needed, and anything that you do need that you don't have right now, it's on its way. It might take a minute, it might take a month, it might take a year, but it's on its way. So if you need more to your recipe, say for instance, you're missing some baking soda. I got baking soda, right? Yeah, you're missing some baking soda. It'll be on the way. As long as you ain't cooking no work and trying to get extras, it will be on the way. So don't trip, man. Like I told you guys in the past, and I'll repeat it over and over again. Your bag is your bag. Once you get to cooking with your own recipe, you'll get to your bag a lot faster. So keep that in mind. Your recipe is yours only. But you need to understand and figure out what ingredients I already possess. And if I want to hit that ultimate level, say for instance, I don't just want chocolate chip cookies. but I want that pecan, I want that toffee in there, that one where I can charge more, then you need to figure out how to add those ingredients in there to your recipe, right? But you need to do it correctly so that it doesn't come across as if you're trying like that, right? But hopefully you guys understand what I mean by that. Don't put it out there. Hey, I'm doing da. I learned, okay, well, just do it. Talk it for inspiration, but put more action behind it and focus on it. A lot of times what you'll see is, man, I could take I didn't know with cheesecake. My wife figured out with cheesecake that you got to put it in a water dish or it's going to crack. So a lot of people didn't know that with their recipes. So it's not only what your ingredients, it's what you do, your environment, what kind of environment you put yourself in, right? Am I in the right place to grow? I could have the best ingredients. Let's take it back to cannabis growing, right? I'm about to start another harvest in about a month or two. And the reason why I'm waiting is because it's too hot right now. It's too hot, too humid. It's going to burn the plants up. So no matter how good my soil is, no matter how good my environment is, no matter how good my nutrients are, it's still going to burn up because it's too hot, which is why the Northern California makes ideal conditions, because it's a little bit cooler on there. They got that bay breeze sometimes. It gets a little cooler up there. But down here, it gets hot. So I need to be careful with that. Pick my ideal times to do things, right? I was about to pursue my PhD, put that on pause because I need to learn a little bit better math so I can get a higher GMAT score and get into a better program. And right now, a lot of programs are on hold and limbo, such and such and such. So let me back up and pause and give my wife time to finish her school so that we're both on the same track. So a lot of times you need to force the issue. There's no need for that. But you do need to self-analyze, self-direct, and figure out. In the meantime, while this is going on, is there anything that I need to add to my recipe? And better yet, is there anything that I need to add to my menu, right? So now I know how to do this. Is there something else I can learn how to do to add to the menu? So when people do come at me, they're not just looking at one recipe. Oh, you just make hot chicken. Like the guy that, whatever the guy is in LA. You just make hot chicken. No, I make hot chicken and I do this as well. But I do hot chicken really well. But you can add more things to your menu. I know how to do this now. I know how to do this. Like I taught my son how to ride bikes, and now I'm teaching other kids how to ride bikes. I did it really well, did it in like a day and a half. Boom, bam, figured it out. And I know the progress on how to teach kids how to ride bikes. There's a lot of value in that. A lot of parents don't have the time or the patience, and they want their kids to ride bikes. You can put an ad out there. I teach kids how to ride bikes. Such and such an hour. I have your kid riding a bike in a week. Flat fee, no more than this. Parents will pay you gladly so that their kid can ride a bike with them because they may not have the time. So that's something I learned. I can add that to my menu, right? Didn't mess with my recipe, just add it to my menu. Oh yeah, I know how to do that too, right? And so these things you can do while we're in quarantine, while we have computers, while we have the time. And if you don't have the time, let me back that up, because that's hella inconsiderate and hella biased, just making the assumption that people have that kind of time to do these things like you do. Everybody's not in the same situation. So I do understand it. And I'm not just saying, hey man, do this, that, do that. No. But what I am saying is do your best with your spare time and figure out when the ideal time is for you, right? And get into a job and position that celebrates that, right? It doesn't condone, oh man, you're not here at 5. You need to be here at 5 so that the boss sees you and your light on working in your cubicle. Man, I so get tired of that. And the boss is going through a divorce and hates his wife. That's why he's spending half his time here. She's doing the same thing. So there ain't no science to it. The boss is in here working. Man, please. The boss just hates his house. That's it. So I don't, miss me with all that conversation. And I know that for a fact, sometimes that's the case. And we get our feelings. We get in our feelings and we get down on ourselves because we can't match up to something that doesn't make sense to us, something that doesn't feel right with us, right? And we know it, but we're still trying to measure up. Man, just like now, I was getting ready to put out something saying, man, does anybody parking lot competing anymore? Because I know when I worked at the radio station, everybody was competing with Mercedes Benzes now. Everybody, such and such get a Benz, I got to one up them. Oh, I can't have nothing in this parking lot, I got to look like I'm balling. I used to sit up there and watch. I pull up in my Honda, man. Please, I'm over that, homie. I got over that when I was in my 20s, when we was really flossing, right? When we was having things that we really wasn't supposed to be having at that age, like clean. So I'm over that. But there's a lot of people that are doing that, basing their recipe on someone else's and whatever thing they're going through mentally. So that's another thing. Just like I told you guys with that pot, you don't know why people are doing such and such. You don't know why. And if you ask them the logic and what the reason behind it, might not make a damn bit of sense to you. So a lot of times we don't dig that deep because we don't want to know, because it'll be conflicting with whoever we are. And that's the key in the whole purpose of this conversation, this weekly tap in, was to figure out, what the hell are you? And what are you made of? What's your recipe, dog? You need to figure it out, because you can make it either better or you can take it completely off the market so that nobody gets a taste of that nasty shit, if that's how you rock. But if not, you can adjust that recipe and make it the tastiest thing ever invented, right? Ever. And that's what I'm trying to tell you guys, man. Let's go. Let's make this happen. But let's do an inventory of what we have and what we don't have, what's working for us, what's not working for us. We need to figure that part out. So that's what I'm up on this weekend. What are you guys up to? What's your recipe? What's your number one value? What's the thing that people are attracted to the most? I want to see it in the comments, man. Tap in with me. Let me know what's your number one value, which people see. What's your number one? What's the first ingredient, right? Because you know when you're talking about a recipe, the first ingredient is usually the one with the most, right? What's the most? What's yours? I'll wait. You know what I'm saying? I'll wait on you guys, man. Tell me what yours is, because I want to know what your number one recipe is. Mine is motivation. That's it. I start with motivation. I want to pump you up. I believe you can. I believe you're able. I believe you're going to make a difference in this world. And that's not just cat, because I know how you feel. Some of you guys, you feeling like you can't do much. But I'll tell you like this. All it takes is one person. One person to listen, one person to share this information, one person to forward it, one person to make a suggestion. It's just like that pebble that goes into the ocean and the ripple, that goes into the stream, pebble, or to the pond, to the stream, and that ripple usually goes into a wave on the other side of the ocean. But it starts with one motion, right? It starts with one motion. And that's what I take with you guys. Show me, tell me, what's that number one ingredient? Because that's going to be your most powerful tool. That's going to be your super weapon. That's going to be your superpower. That's the reason why you're a superhero, is because that ingredient that you have. Mine is motivation. What is yours? So look out. Next week, we're going to cut it short. Tap in with us next week, man. We'll be doing another one. We'll probably expand on this as well. And I'll tap in. But make sure you guys leave it in the comments, man. If you guys haven't listened to the podcast, went to the podcast, make sure you guys tap into that. Let me know. Give me feedback. You guys got suggestions on guests. You got people that may want to tap in. Let me know, man. I'm looking for guests, but I'm looking for the right guests. I don't want people to just come on there and tell me a story. I want you to tell me a story, and then also give me something that people can, tangible, that people can grab onto, that they can actually go and execute that day or within a week. That's kind of what I'm about, man. Taking action right then while it's on top of your mind. Better yet, like the Mel Robbins, that 5-second rule, man, do it within 5 seconds, right? Do it within 5 seconds of thinking about it, get on it, move it, done, right? Absolutely, absolutely. So make sure you guys tap in, man. We do this all day, but the podcast is important for us, man. It keeps us going, and I want to know what you guys want to see. So make sure you guys leave it in the comments, tap in. We'll see you guys next week. Have a wonderful week, man, and go Lakers.